Zillow and OpenDoor this week announced that they are in a partnership together, and agents across the nation cried. No, just kidding. We did not cry, but it was definitely something that we weren't completely surprised by. And yet, it has a lot of implications for buyers and sellers all across the nation. So, if you are a buyer or a seller and you are living somewhere where you have both Zillow and OpenDoor servicing your market, you are probably wondering, what in the world does this do for me, and what should I consider whenever I am thinking about buying or selling a home? So, first, let's take a look at exactly what this partnership is and what it means for you. So, I am going to share this article that announces this partnership. So bear with me just a second while I get this going for you. All right, so let's take a look at this. In this article, it says after the iBuying debacle, Zillow partners with OpenDoor. So that debacle that they are referring to, that is Zillow themselves were an iBuyer. So first, the question is, what is an iBuyer? An iBuyer is a company that directly buys the house directly from the seller, meaning it does not go on the open market. It is not kind of like that auction style where anyone can make an offer for the home. It is a company buying it directly. And so the benefits to you as a seller, someone considering selling their house, is that you don't have to deal with open houses. You don't have to deal with getting your house in show ready, perfect condition. You don't have to worry about making repairs. You essentially just take some pictures of your house, you send it to this iBuyer, they make you an offer, and then magically your house is sold, right? Well, not so easy. Uh, they will make you an offer on your house. There are some fees that you're going to have to pay to work with this iBuyer. Typically, they will come in and do an inspection on your house. And what we have found historically in the market is that the repairs that these iBuyer companies ask for are drastically more than what we would see in a typical open market condition. For example, new paint and flooring and countertops and appliances and repairs that would need to be done or what they state need to be done. Would you actually encounter that in a normal market with someone making an offer and negotiating on your behalf to purchase your house? And that answer is no. No, it would be a crazy market for a buyer to come in and negotiate to have your house completely repainted and have new flooring put in all throughout. So that's not likely, but it is something that we see that comes up in after these inspections are done on your house with these iBuyers. So really, the initial offer is very attractive for the most part, and then you get hit with the fees and the repair items, and you're walking away with a lot lower amount. Now, for you as a seller, you do have the convenience though of never having to show your house. You didn't have people come in and look at it. You didn't have to go through that negotiation process. You didn't have to leave the house and put the dogs up and make the house smell good and clean before you could sell it. It just magically happens. And you have the backing of knowing that it is a cash offer. So this is a cash investor that is buying your house. You don't also have to worry about a loan falling through. So for a lot of sellers, sometimes this convenience is something that they don't mind giving up some money in order for this convenience and having that peace of mind knowing that the house is being sold. So when we say after this iBuying debacle, Zillow was an iBuyer up until the fall of last year. They were actually making purchases of homes directly to consumers. They were soliciting sellers and saying, hey, here's what we'll pay for your house, sell it to Zillow. And if you remember, Zillow got out of this iBuying business in the fall of last year. Now, they were only doing this in select markets across the country, but the Atlanta market was one of those markets that they were buying houses in. So they have now partnered with OpenDoor, who is a historically only an iBuying company. They purchase houses and then they turn around and resell them on the open market. So they formed this multi-year partnership, and what they are saying is that it's just going to be an extension of Zillow's services to clients. And so you see here that this changed back in November. Zillow got out of the iBuying business, and they did that because there was unpredictability in forecasting home prices. Well, shocker, it's been a wild ride, right? And so what they found is that they were overpaying for houses and then not being able to recoup that investment or have enough margin there so that they were making money on the sales of those homes. And so this is a key thing to remember, and we'll come back to this point. But uh, they're partnering with OpenDoor, and so essentially, what this means for you as a consumer is that you are going to be able to go on Zillow and say, make me an offer on my home. You're going to get an offer from OpenDoor on your house, and you're going to have the option of either selling it to OpenDoor or being matched with a Zillow agent. So, one of the things that you need to know is that the Zillow agent they are matching you with, it can be one or two things. It could be a Zillow agent that is paying money every single month to get these leads directly from Zillow. And here's the thing, you can be an amazing agent paying for these leads, and you could sell hundreds of houses a year and have tons of experience as one of these agents, or you can be a brand new agent that has some money to pay for leads, and that could be the person that ends up selling your house. So just really make sure that you are doing your research if you are going to consider ever just hiring an agent off of Zillow. Obviously, we trust getting a recommended agent. We can definitely help you find a recommended agent in your area that we vet and kind of go through that process with you to make sure that you are being put in good hands. So you just don't want to pick anybody. But going back to OpenDoor in this partnership, the timing of this announcement is very interesting. So one of the things that came out, and you may have heard this on the news last week, and that is OpenDoor rather, was fined by the Federal Trade Commission for fraud. So they had to take action to stop online home buying firm OpenDoor from cheating potential sellers with misleading claims about its home buying services. OpenDoor is having to pay $62 million to stop deceiving consumers about the supposed benefits of the service. And so basically, they're saying that OpenDoor promised to revolutionize the real estate market, but build its business using old-fashioned deception about how much consumers could earn from selling their homes on the platform. And so what they found out was that sellers were promised and lured in by this big number that caused them to say, yes, this is definitely worth me giving up, potentially some money, and that so potentially giving up some money, and this is going to allow me to have that peace of mind. But it was a bait and switch. So if you'll remember, we talked about the fees that OpenDoor charges, and we talked about the inspection that then happens, and then all of these repair items. And then you're kind of in this contract and you're like, oh, what I thought I was netting on my house is actually drastically more, or drastically less rather. So that is something to that they got caught by the Federal Trade Commission, and they said, hey, you are deceiving sellers on what they think that they can get for their house. So that is definitely something that you want to keep in mind. Now, if you have any questions or comments about this, please leave them below. I would love to answer those. And so what we're talking about now is, what does this partnership with Zillow and OpenDoor mean for you as a buyer or a seller? Now, on the selling side, essentially, you're going to have options, right? You can sell your house to OpenDoor, but what we see from that Federal Trade Commission fine against OpenDoor is that they have been very deceptive in the price that sellers can get for their house. Now, we all know that whenever you sell something at an auction, you are likely to get more money for that item than if you were to just put a price on it and sell to someone directly. You would rather have 10 people fighting over that item that you want to sell versus just one person. Same thing with selling to OpenDoor or Zillow versus putting your home on the market. When you expose your home to as many people as possible and put as many eyes on it as possible, you are going to create that interest in your house, and you're creating that scenario where it creates an opportunity for multiple offers and pushing it up and over asking price. That is the ideal scenario that any seller wants to net the most amount of money. Obviously, whenever you sell directly to OpenDoor, you are immediately eliminating that option. So, an interesting thing that we found over the past couple of years being a real estate agent, if you go back to 2018 and 2019, OpenDoor was making offers on houses. And us as real estate agents, whenever we would go and meet with the seller, it wouldn't be surprising to find out that they were possibly considering this. And so part of that conversation that we would have with them is that, hey, listen, let's look at the numbers on this and see what's the best viable solution for you. And we would solicit that offer from OpenDoor to see what they were willing to pay. We would run comparables on the house to see what the open market says this house should be sold for. And then usually when we would compare those two numbers, it would be drastically different. So usually the seller's net of what they would make would be far less using OpenDoor than what it would be on the open market. Now, enter the crazy real estate market of 2020, 2021, and early part of 2022. OpenDoor and Zillow were making aggressive attempts to create and capture market shares in these test markets that they were in. So, one of the things that we started to notice as real estate agents is that as we would go and meet with potential sellers, let's say that we would run our comparables based on what the market was willing to pay, and we would meet with the seller, and let's just say that the house was worth 300,000. The seller would say, hey, I got an offer from Zillow or from OpenDoor, and they gave me an offer of 325. And the conversations between real estate agents behind the scenes was like, what is going on? That's not what the fair market value of this house is. How can they do that? Now, the conversations that we would have with sellers, if you were a good agent, would be, wow, that's an amazing offer. Even after considering in what their fees are and what you would net versus what it is like going on the open market, this is a better deal for you. And yeah, take it. Sell to OpenDoor, sell to Zillow. And so what we saw and what it played out, especially with Zillow, they got out of the market in November because they were losing hundreds of millions of dollars by trying to buy their way into the real estate market and capture market share. They didn't care if they were losing those hundreds of millions of dollars because they thought in the long run it was going to be a benefit to the company and that then they would eventually end up making money on this. But we found out that that definitely was not viable for Zillow. And so now they're partnering with OpenDoor. And that is a definitely a surprising turn of events. And so we are, as real estate agents, interested to see like how this is going to play out in the market. Now, one of the things that you need to know is that if you are considering buying a house in a market where OpenDoor is, it is not uncommon to see a lot of OpenDoor owned houses on the market. And it's not uncommon to see those same houses continue to stay on the market day after day after day. And you might be thinking that doesn't make any sense. We're in a strong seller's market. Where I live, houses are selling in 24 hours, 48 hours. Even now, what we're seeing in the Atlanta market is that we're seeing a little bit of a return back to normal. And so we're starting to see that 7-day kind of time period of a house taking to sell. But you look at an OpenDoor house and you see this home has been on the market for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. That is not normal. What is going on? And so what we have found is that these houses are basically and this is without this is anecdotal evidence. This is what we see on the ground as real estate agents. This is my opinion based upon what I have seen going through these houses with buyers and making offers on these houses, is that it's essentially what we call down here in the South lipstick on a pig. So all of those repairs that they promised they were going to make, they kind of made some repairs, but not really. So it was not uncommon to see new paint and new carpet in these houses, but you walk around the outside of the house or you notice like really uneven floors or lots of wood rot around a house, or getting up in a crawl space and seeing like completely wet and moldy subflooring and things like that. And you're like, what home inspector did they use? And it was clear that they had used some home inspector because some things had been covered up. But or some things had been attempted to be repaired, but not the big obvious stuff. And so the condition of these houses that we were finding as real estate agents is definitely not what you would expect to see if you were a buyer wanting to buy a house. So I'll share with you just some stats from our current market right now. These are current active open door houses that are on the market. And so you'll see here, this is directly in our MLS system. This is the list price of the house. And then this column right here gives you the total days on market. And this is all throughout the Atlanta area. Here's a house that's been on the market for 288 days. And keep in mind right now that the average in the Atlanta metro area is 7 days. And so this house has been on the market for almost a year. You have some of these half of a year. And that is just not a normal market. And so you have to wonder, like, is this the company that I want to use to not only sell my house through, but buy a house through? Us as real estate agents, we cringe whenever we see a house being owned by OpenDoor that a buyer wants to see, because it is likely not a good house. And I'm sure y'all at home can relate to me on this. Have you ever had to call up your insurance company and get something figured out, or get a question answered, or tell them that they made a mistake on a bill and you needed to negotiate that and correct it? I know that's happened to you. And OpenDoor, dealing with them is exactly like dealing with your health insurance company. It is a nightmare. They're hard to get a hold of. You don't have a dedicated person that you can speak to. You are negotiating that purchase with a company. They are a company machine that is purchasing houses and selling houses in the area, and it is not an easy experience. And so oftentimes you'll hear real estate agents like myself really give that information to buyers and say, this is great. This may be your perfect dream house, but let's just know that this is not going to be an easy process getting through this contract process to purchase the house. Thank you for watching, Anthony. You said that you didn't hear about this partnership before and that you appreciate the update and keeping us alerted on the iBuying partnership. So thank you for watching and for commenting. And as we're talking about this, if you have any questions, please let me know. I'd be happy to answer any of those questions for you. And if you have any questions about the Georgia real estate market, we would love to answer that for you as well. So another interesting thing that you should know is that, especially here in the metro Atlanta area that we serve, the amount of iBuyers and investors that have purchased homes within the last 2 years has drastically changed. So if you're watching, and if you could comment, what percentage of houses in the Atlanta area do you think were purchased by investors last year? If you don't mind giving me a comment below, I would love to see what your estimate is before I share the actual number with you. So let's see here. Let me pull up this article for you and share this. All right. So this was an article done by the Atlanta Business Chronicle, and a third of Atlanta homes sold went to investors. So who are these investors? These are the iBuyers. These are hedge funds that are purchasing these homes. So it says investors bought 33% of homes sold in the metro Atlanta area from January through March, according to a report that Redfin did. And that put us in the 40 most populous metro areas in the United States for investor purchases. So this is huge. And that was an increase by more than 50% compared to the same time period in 2021. So when you, as a consumer, are speaking with us wanting to know, like, why have prices increased so much in the metro Atlanta area? This is one of the reasons why home prices have increased. And we have some really, really great guesses here. Anthony, 35%, TBN, 40%, Lily, 25%. I need to hire y'all to come work on my real estate team because that is some really great guesses. Um, that is a lot of real estate that they're purchasing. So, what does this mean for you as a buyer in this market? Well, if 30% of those homes, think about where those would have went, or 33% of those homes, uh, those would have been houses that would have went on the open market where you as a buyer would have had a shot to get them. So in that group of investors, you have some of those were iBuyers like OpenDoor or OfferPad or Zillow back in 2021. So some of those were iBuyers. And I mentioned that the other part of those were hedge fund investors. So they are purchasing these houses and they're turning them into rental houses. So their prime market for houses that they purchased for these hedge funds were your typical first-time home buyer houses. So think anywhere between $200,000 to $350,000. This was like the house that they wanted to buy, and they were making really great aggressive offers on these houses. And so they purchased them, and now they are rentals. And there is no expectation among the real estate community that any of these houses are ever going to return back to the market. These hedge fund companies are going to keep them as rentals. And so that is a good, huge section of the market that is never coming back, ever. So if you're a first-time home buyer and you're wondering why you've had such a hard time trying to find a house, it's because you've been competing against hedge fund investors that could purchase a house with cash, and they were making very aggressive offers. And so sellers, for the most part, when it comes to selling your house, you only care about making the most amount of money. When it comes to selling your house, you don't really care about who's buying your house. Some of you might, but you would kind of be in the minority when it comes to selling your house. So you have to kind of imagine the long-term implications of these investors and iBuyers purchasing houses that are never going to return to the market. Lily says, so they are not selling them, but they are putting them up for rent. Yes. And if you have seen anything about historic rent rates, if you look at it historically, rent rates have never gone down. So they know that their investment today, that not only is the real estate value of the house going to continue to go up, and so that if they ever wanted to sell in the future, they could, but they're going to be able to increase those rents year after year after year. And one of the byproducts of having such a really strong housing market or demand for housing market has been that rents have been very expensive and the demand for rentals has been extremely high as well. So rent rates have increased just as the prices of houses have increased, and housing affordability is a huge problem all across the United States right now. And unfortunately, in my opinion, I feel like we are moving to a market where a lot of first-time home buyers are people that could one time afford to purchase a house based upon their income is likely probably not going to ever be able to afford a house again. And so that's what is a challenge of the real estate market. And it's one of the great things about having the ability to purchase a home. You're building that generational wealth that you can then one day turn around and sell that house and have a huge chunk of equity in that house that otherwise you would not have had if you were being a renter. So Anthony asked, in a situation where a house has been on the market over 100 days, what tools are open for a buyer during negotiations that may not be available for a house that's been on the market for 10 days? Fantastic question. And so in a normal market with a normal seller, if a house has been on the market for 100 days, you as a buyer are thinking, there is something wrong with this house. Either it's overpriced or it's in bad condition. And you might be thinking, okay, I don't mind doing a little bit of work. I am going to put in an offer that's $20,000, $30,000 less than what it's currently priced at, because obviously it's overpriced for the condition of the home. Well, whenever you are dealing with OpenDoor, they are a company and not a rational-minded seller. They are looking at collectively the books as a whole, and they are not looking at that one individual house and making a decision that way. So one of the things that you'll find is that if you are after a house that is owned by Open Door, you will notice that they are typically on a 2-week schedule of when they will do that price reduction. And so typically every 2 weeks, you will see that that house price will be reduced by $2,500, $2,000-ish or so. And even if you're a buyer that comes in and says, hey, all of these items need to be repaired, this still needs to get done, the house has been on the market for 100 days, I'm offering this. They will likely counter back with a number that's around $2,000 less than what it's currently on the market for. And so there is no common sense when it comes to working with them or what their sales tactics are. But if there's a house that you're interested in owned by them, you really just have to wait it out or just be willing to accept that they are very, very hard to negotiate with and that you're not going to win that. But on a normal market with a normal seller, that 100-day or even anything over what the normal average is in that market would be a great indicator that either it's overpriced or that there's cosmetic or actual physical issues with the house. And most sellers would negotiate those and would bring the price down to match what that new fair market value would be to match what needs to be done to the house. And so that is a great thing that if you are working with a tighter budget, you are going to want to seek out those houses that have been on the market a little bit longer so that you can have those negotiations with the seller and get it for a little bit less. That's a great question. So Nacha asks, looking to move to Georgia within the next 6 months, what do you think the market would look like? That is a good question. And what we are seeing and what experts are predicting for the real estate market for the nationwide as a whole, and especially here in the North Metro Atlanta area, is that home prices are going to continue to appreciate, but we are expecting that to return to a normal appreciation. So over the past year and a half, we have seen home prices appreciate 20%. And to give you a little bit of reference for that, a normal market rate appreciation is between 4 to 6%. So we are expecting a deceleration in home price appreciation, but we are not expecting to see a devaluation of the house, meaning that home prices are not expected to go backwards. If you bought a house today at fair market value for $400,000, it's not going to be worth $380 in 6 months. That $400,000 house, someone do the math for me, at a 5% appreciation, maybe worth around $405, $410 for that house 6 months later. So we are seeing a slowdown in how fast home prices are rising, but we are not seeing that devaluation. I love that question. It's definitely something you should take into consideration because we talk to a lot of people and they think that if you read the headlines and the articles, you would think that the sky is falling in the real estate market and that everyone's about to be able to cash in on these amazing deals in the real estate market. And that is just really sensationalism headlines. If you dig into the data, you will see that that is not the case. Of course, the housing market is slowing down. We were at 20% appreciation. That was unheard of and totally unsustainable. So that decrease in the housing market is expected to happen. And we as real estate agents are wanting that to happen as well because it is not sustainable. Lily asks, as buyers, how can we tell which properties are owned by these investors? So whenever you're looking at a home on, let's say Zillow, because let's face it, you're probably looking at a house on Zillow. If it is owned by OpenDoor, it is always listed by the OpenDoor brokerage. And if it is listed by a real estate agent, oftentimes the private comments that we as real estate agents can access will have an indicator in there whether or not it's owned by an investor. Usually there's special documentation that they want for contracts and stuff like that. So working with your real estate agent, they can give you some good advice on if these houses are owned by investors. Oftentimes houses that have been flipped, those are owned by investors as well. And so those are typically owned by your more smaller local investors that have purchased the home. and flipped it. And obviously you can kind of see those on the real estate market, and you know that those are local flippers when the house is completely vacant and you're seeing brand new everything. And you'll usually see that in the comments saying, brand new, freshly renovated house. That would be owned by a local investor. The OpenDoor houses will be listed by the brokerage OpenDoor. So if you have any questions as we are going through these, I would love to answer your questions about anything about iBuyers or the Georgia real estate market, or simply buying or selling any houses. I would love to answer those questions for you. All right. Lily also says, that we already answered that one. She had the same question as Natasha. Natasha, that's how you say your name. Sorry. Thank you. I wonder if I should wait a little. So if I was a buyer in this market, if I found the house that I wanted now, I would buy it now. And my thought process behind that is that we don't know what interest rates are going to do. They could definitely increase, which we've seen that this year, right? If you were in the market January and February of this year, you were looking at an interest rate in the 3%. If you were looking to buy a house right now, interest rates are in the low 5%. That percentage different, 1.5 to 2 points, that's a huge difference in your monthly payment of what you're paying. So let's say that you have the option of either buying now or buying in the future. We have no clue of what interest rates are going to do in the future, but we can have a reasonable estimate that they're probably going to either stay the same or go up even higher. The great thing is that if you buy now, and let's just say that something miraculously happens and we go back down to the threes, you can always refinance that house. However, you cannot pay the same price for the house that you would today as you would in the future. All experts and economists are predicting that the long term, the next 3 to 5 years of home prices are going to continue to appreciate, meaning going up in price. It's just going to be like slowly little incremental changes in price. So you could find yourself in a scenario where you've waited, the interest rate's a lot higher, and you're still paying more for the house. Another thing that you have to keep in mind is, what are you doing in the meantime? Are you renting? Because if you are renting, that is money for sure that you are just throwing down the tube and you are never seeing that money again. However, there's a lot that goes into making those decisions, especially if you're not needing to be in an area for a certain time period. Then obviously it wouldn't make sense to maybe pull those plans forward. So there's a lot of things that go into that, but we would be happy to walk you through your scenario and kind of help weigh the pros and cons with you. And give you the very best advice, because at the end of the day, you are the one making this decision. And we really view our job as to making sure that you have the very best pieces of information so that you can put those together and make the very best decision for you and your family. Let's see. Johnny Bravo. Wow, what a pickle to be you. Walking around the town bringing spring wherever you go. Well, that is so sweet. And that sounds like a bot. We do have those in the on the channel sometimes. So that's very sweet of you, Johnny Bravo. So I loved your questions. If you have any more questions for me, please feel free to put those in the comments below. We greatly appreciate you watching and being with us. And if you have any plans to move or buy or sell a house, even in a different market, we would love to answer that question for you. Lily said, great advice about looking at how many days the house has been on the market and targeting those. Yes. So oftentimes we work with buyers that have a limited budget. And I say limited budget, that's all relative, right? And so a lot of first-time home buyers, you're trying to get into your very first house and you, let's say, have to get a house under $300,000. And sometimes it can be, over the past 2 years, it's been incredibly competitive in that market. So we have been able to say, hey, let's only target houses that have been on the market for 15 days or more, and let's go after those houses. You would be surprised. Some of those houses haven't sold because they had terrible pictures. So if you're thinking about selling your house and your real estate agent is taking the pictures on their phone and then using those pictures to sell your house, that is a sign of a not so great agent. but you would be amazed at how many good houses just had really terrible pictures, and that's why they didn't sell. But when you're working with a great agent, they can help pick those out for you and give you that great advice. Or they can help you see, hey, if you painted this house and if you took down this ugly fence, this is going to be like a really great diamond in the rough. All right. Someone is here. Thanks for the info. Does Open Door sell new construction homes? Oh, this is a good one. So they do not sell new construction homes. That is going to be sold directly by the builder or a real estate agent representing the builder. What they will do though, is if you go look for an open house, or I'm sorry, if you go look for a new construction and you walk to their model home and you meet with the agent, and you personally don't have an agent yet, likely that real estate agent on site is going to say, hey, we can have Open Door buy your house. Let me connect you with an Open Door representative. And that way you don't have to worry about selling your house in order to purchase this brand new, bright, shiny new construction home. So they'll either partner you with Open Door or OfferPad and kind of solve that problem for you. But are they really solving that problem for you? Because likely you're not getting the very most amount of money for the sale of your house. And so that is how they're kind of connected with new construction communities. But no, you're not going to see Open Door selling a new construction house. We always, always, always recommend getting paired with a really great real estate agent. The great ones will give you the very best advice. And if selling to Open Door or one of these iBuyer companies are the best fit for you, they'll be honest with you and tell you that. So really, really great information. So I have so appreciated everyone being here with us. We are going to be live on this channel every single Wednesday at 6 o'clock Eastern time. And so we look forward to sharing information with you about what is going on in the local market, what's happening in Georgia, and what is happening all across the country, just like we've shared with you today about what is going on with OpenDoor and Zillow. So as always, come back to our channel for the latest information on not only the market, but also all the Metro Atlanta areas that we serve. We love educating you, and then we love answering your questions and comments every single Wednesday here at 6 o'clock. So thank you for being with us. And if you'd like to reach out to us directly, you can find our contact information below this video. We look forward to getting the opportunity to work with you, and we will see you next week.